Kia ora koutou. Thank you for joining me today. I am Charlotte Evett. I'm the Government Relations Lead for Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand. This is one of a series of short interviews we're conducting with New Zealand experts to provide some practical guidance to you and your business on navigating the COVID-19 landscape in these really uncertain times. So today I am lucky to be joined by Richard Bowman. Richard is the GM for Wellington and South Island for the Bank of New Zealand. So Richard looks after all of the retail and business clients for the whole of the South Island and for Wellington also. So Richard, I really appreciate you joining us today and what I know must be a very stressful time for you. Welcome.
No, thank you, Charlotte. No problem.
Richard, can you tell me a bit about the government support that's available for businesses out there and how they can access it, and anything else you think that listeners need to know today?
Thank you, Charlotte. Yes, I guess firstly, a lot of businesses around New Zealand have been aware that the COVID-19 has been impacting their business for probably a month or 6 weeks now. So there's been a lot of conversations going on with businesses and business advisors and banks, etc., over that period of time. Obviously on Monday when Category 4 was announced and businesses or non-essential services were shutting, and that really did have a significant impact on businesses. And the government, I think, acted reasonably decisively to come out with a package and really demonstrate a strong desire to support New Zealand businesses because they understand the impact, or firstly the importance of small and medium enterprise in particular to the New Zealand economy. There's 500,000 of them out there. They are really important. They are significant employers, and the government has a very clear understanding of the importance of the small and medium enterprise businesses for the contribution to the economy, but also the employment of a lot of New Zealanders. So that's a really important thing that shouldn't be lost, because as we've seen in Australia, the government have come back and revisited the support packages over time depending on what's been required. So we might see that. I guess that the government has come out with a package in conjunction with the Reserve Bank and the trading banks and others in New Zealand, looking to find ways to support individuals and businesses. And whilst the detail is still being fleshed out, there are some things already in flight right now. And probably the one that's probably earliest to land has been the government wage subsidy. So this is a subsidy for all businesses. Criteria are you need to be impacted. Minimum 80% of people's salaries is the subsidy. It's a very simple and easy process to apply for that. You go to the work and income site. It's a one-page form. It is very, very simple, and we strongly encourage businesses out there that are impacted to go to the work and income site on the government website and apply. It's simple and straightforward.
It's incredibly straightforward, Richard. Sorry, there's a bit of a lag here, but having a look on it, I would say feedback we've had from our members, the most confusing part, if you like, is there's it appears that there's a requirement to have a New Zealand business number. However, if for organisations that don't have a New Zealand business number, obviously they don't need to fill that in, so it's not something they need to go and get. I would say it's a 5-minute job that that a 10-year-old child could do without any trouble at all. So it's the government have made it very accessible.
Yes, I'd agree with that, Charlotte. It is very accessible and very easy. It is a 5-minute job, so yeah, strongly recommend impacted businesses to be on there taking advantage of that opportunity, that's for sure. The other thing, of course, that's really important is the government's working with all the trading banks and the Reserve Bank to ensure that businesses are supported at a time when a lot of businesses basically have no cash flow. And so there's a lending package being created, and there's a personal lending package, which probably more points towards interest-only lending and principal and interest holidays and those types of things. Holiday being, yeah, you will pay it at some point, but it's push pause, if you like, and add it on at the end. But from a business perspective, there's work going on there, and there's detail being fleshed out by all the trading banks now. Have been working incredibly hard on this to enable businesses that have a turnover between 250,000 and 80 million to get access to up to a $500,000 loan for working capital and other purposes related to the COVID-19. It's not accessible for working capital, for capital expenditure or property development or any things like that. It is specifically related to working capital positions relating to the COVID-19. So, you know, there are some very basic criteria about being impacted, etc. So those are the things that are being worked on right now. The banks are having to sort of work with the government and the Reserve Bank to ensure that we are compliant with some of our lending obligations. One of our lending obligations is to ensure the people we lend to are sound and have an ability to repay. At the moment, those things are up in the air, so we're finding a way around that. And whilst your bank might not have a process in flight today. It is absolutely imminent, and we would strongly recommend that you remain in contact with your bank over this period of time, because they will be letting you know when you can contact them to take advantage of this. The important note here is the wage subsidy is something that's accessed by a government website. The lending opportunities are accessed via your bank. So those are probably two quite distinct differences between those two opportunities. Whilst you're waiting for your bank to get themselves organised, and as I said, that'll be imminent, then there's things you can be doing, understanding a little bit about what's happening to your cash flow. That could be from a relatively minor impact to it is absolutely zero. And then it's about starting to understand a little bit about your best estimate in these uncertain times about how long you think it's going to be like that for, and putting some sensitivities and things around that so you can understand what your working capital needs are to keep your business going, so that when this thing finishes, we can determine, or you can, if your business is. I must stress that the government has a very strong desire to see as many businesses as possible come out the other side of this and then determine their own future. And so I think that's an important consideration that requires a lot of endeavour and effort from business owners and ourselves being a bank alike. So those are the opportunities that exist there.
Okay, Richard, you raise a couple of really good points there. One of them is for businesses to actually proactively, before they contact their bank, get their affairs in order. So go and talk to your accountant or whoever you need to, because accountants and lawyers and other advisors, your trusted advisors, they're continuing to operate on the most part. They just have shifted to working from home. So even though they're not defined as an essential service like banks and hospitals, they're still operating, and they're just on the other end of a phone or a Zoom call or a Skype call. So get in touch with your accountant, your lawyer, your advisor, and figure out where you're at. You also pointed out doing some sensitivity analysis. So I'm gathering by that you meant sort of some scenario analysis. So if this goes on just for the month, what will this look like? What will the impacts be, 6 months, or, if we go back to 50% income, so that you've got a lot of different scenarios you can work at. You can look at the best case and the worst case scenario. And again, your advisor can help you with that if you can't do it yourself. And then...
just one thing about, Charlotte, I might just add in there, is that
sure.
Some business owners might have their eyes glazing
have different expectations. We've all gone digital now, so I'm sure people will want to interact with their businesses differently. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, well, I'm a bit of a believer that, the world will never be the same. I think, and what impact that has on your specific business will vary wildly, from maybe quite minimal to maybe quite significant to even a positive impact. And I think it is worthwhile, once you've got your working capital position sorted out, once you've spoken to your staff, all those sorts of things, to start to contemplate what some of these impacts might be. And I think, by and large, entrepreneurial people are open-minded, problem solvers, optimistic people, and I think they're just the right type of people to be thinking about what the opportunities and challenges might be, because I'm a firm believer that the world will never be the same. And I think, I live in Christchurch, and I think from the earthquake we kind of learnt that whilst the city's up and running, it's not the same as it was, it's different. And I think these are some of the things that's going to be the same for a lot of the businesses around New Zealand at the moment. And it's really worthwhile thinking about what those changes are going to be, how your business might need to evolve. Is your business model enhanced by what's occurring now, or is it severely impacted? And if so, then what do you think the actions might be required there? And that's when we can start to connect with business advisors and others to help think about what some of those things might be.
So going to your point, Richard, about the world and businesses not being the same, and absolutely you would have experienced that with Christchurch, and business are just in Australia are just coming out of it with the bushfires, and there are all sorts of examples of events like this that change the landscape for us. So a word that seems to be almost overused in our business at the moment is pivot. But I guess businesses need to look at what they're doing now. Is what they're offering still relevant or achievable? And if not, they need to pivot. Pivot to offering online, pivot to doing things differently so that what they're doing is relevant to their customers and able to be carried out.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. I think the other thing we were talking a little bit, Charlotte, earlier is about remaining really well connected at the moment. Things are changing so rapidly. Businesses will have staff, obviously, encourage them to remain really well connected with their staff and also their customers if possible, whether that's via social media, or whether that's via, if you have a smaller number of customers, getting on the phone, understanding what their concerns and issues are. And I think by having those conversations, we'll be learning a lot. It'll start to be the building blocks of what you understand your business to look like into the future and enable you to pivot and adapt and be really agile at the moment, because I think that's going to be a really significant, important factor over the next period of time. I think by and large, we're all optimistic people. I think if we all do get things right over the next 4 or 5 weeks, that things look bright. But I think, but at the same time, I think businesses will be different, and it's about being able to adapt and evolve to those opportunities as they present themselves.
Great. And Richard, we're all in lockdown now in New Zealand, and Australia, I'm sure, not far behind. There will be many and most banking services can now be done online. Most of us are linked up to online banking personally and for our business as well, and banking advisors are on the other end of a phone. There'll be a few essential services that people may need to go into a branch for. Will there be any branches open, and how's that going to work?
Yeah, it's been a crazy week, Charlotte. It's we've got 150 odd branches at the Bank of New Zealand right around the country, and a week ago we were all open and trading. And I guess when Category 4 got announced by the Prime Minister on Monday, we had quite a significant obligation to think long and hard about what our footprint looks like. We are an essential service, as you've identified, and we take that obligation extremely seriously. We work really hard to ensure that all the channels are really accessible for our customers, things like our customer connection hubs, which is phoning up the bank, the online channels, our ATMs and smart ATMs are monitored by us and loaded with cash. You can get $2,000 a day out of an ATM, so that's quite a lot of cash. And also our branch network still remains really important, albeit it is going to be different going forward. We will be operating 1 day a week on limited hours, and we're looking to basically satisfy the needs of people, that whether they're vulnerable customers or whether they're people that need a PIN loaded on a card, or things like that that maybe people can't do online themselves or via contacting our customer connection hub. Also, the larger businesses who have a dedicated account manager, they're all on duty this week. Phone them up. They're all set up at home and have access to all the same processes and credit approval, etc., that they did last week. So there's no change there. But probably one of the big changes and challenges for us is ensuring that that the essential services that we bank have access to all the cash and transactional facilities that they need to continue to operate their businesses. And that's a really interesting thing to contemplate at the moment, given that cash has sort of been regarded as being not the most sanitary way to be doing business at the moment. Right. So a little bit of people really adopting the digital way of going about it. Yet some people still are looking at cash. So point-to-point type opportunities and services become really important at this point in time as well. So I think that the message for us, and whether it's our bank or all the others, everybody is still open, albeit in a subtly different way than we used to be. And the banks are all lining up to be open 1 day a week for limited hours for the people that need some services that can't be done online as well. So that is interesting times, that's for sure.
Wow, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today, and what has been a very, very busy week and will continue to be for you. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you everybody for watching.